This is an excerpt from the podcast we recorded with Daniel Floyd of Extra Credits, one of a lengthy series where we've gone back and covered every entry in the Disney animated classics canon in as much depth as we can muster. On that show we recorded back in 2014, we said Hercules himself was a little bit boring and just wanted to be a hero. That's not strictly true, and it does a disservice to many of his positive characteristics, especially those that are often labelled as weaknesses by our culture. As a kid, he starts off mistakenly wanting crowds to cheer when they see his face. This is a childish reversal of his usual experience of people collectively groaning when they see him. However, his seeking popularity is ultimately abandoned when he gets it, and then wonders, what's the point? It's not fulfilling being adored by people who don't know him. He has spent so long trying to sculpt himself into what he perceives the people want as a hero that he hasn't had the time to really establish the man that he is. Does that level of expectation imposed by first society and then oneself sound relatable? Herc mistakenly believes that speaking in a very manly way and flexing his rippling pectorals makes him more desirable to Megara, but we can see his heart isn't in that pantomime, and the real version of him comes out when he's talking to her. Yes, he's awkward, but he does recognize that he likes the man he is around her, and he ultimately doesn't have to pretend. Not a lot makes perfect sense in this 1997 movie. If you start pulling at threads of logic, it unravels and becomes a pile of coloured wool in your hands. The people he's been trying to help are ultimately stupid, ungrateful, or hysterical. Hercules realizes on some subconscious level that people are collectively shallow and selfish, and it makes being their hero hard. My personal take-home is that Disney presented us here with a super strong and daring man, but one who is openly uncertain about himself. In an era where James Bond, Batman, and every role Gerard Butler has ever played are still somehow cinematic models for manhood, where boys who treat women crappily are positioned as fascinating and desirable, and if they're murderers, dangerous, fascinating, and desirable, I find it extremely gratifying to see a man who is strong but gentle, vulnerable, honest, enthusiastic, and respectful of women.
Just like your mother, you're unfailingly kind. A trait people never fail to undervalue, I'm afraid.
In the absence of an arc and character growth to rival the best of Disney, the film gives Hercules a lot of busy work, and at the end, it leaves him stripped of the need to be the thing that he's been told to be, that he's built up in his mind he has to be. Ultimately, after the credits roll, he's gone the distance, expectation is satisfied, and Hercules is free to carry on, being the good man he was all along. Megara, for her part, is sent to seduce, spy on, and betray him by the god she is indebted to, with the remit being that this guy is exactly what he appears, a meathead wonder boy. In reality, she has no interest in his hero persona, and finds Phil's crappy attitude appropriately distasteful. Philoctetes is emblematic of the behaviours that boys are supposed to admire and replicate if they want to be considered men, and, not coincidentally, most of what he is able to teach Herc is totally useless.
Aren't you a damsel in distress?
I'm a damsel. I'm in distress. I can handle this. Have a nice day.
Phil teaches him how to lift weights, but not how to be a stand-up guy. In fact, if you want to read this into the ending, by declining Zeus's invitation, Hercules rejects the chance to take his place in the patriarchy and the hegemony of gods and mortals in general. Megara's first assumption about Herc's sweet, innocent farm boy routine is that it's fake. But with a few more encounters, she realizes she has him backwards. It's the meathead that's the mask he wears, and the sweetness that's real. Ultimately, she finds herself drawn to him for who he is, not who he says he wants to be. And not at all because he's a demigod. He doesn't have to try to win her over, and she isn't a prize. She spots that he's clumsy and shy, and like her, lonely. He hasn't experienced the betrayal that she has. In effect, she sees him as a possibility of returning to a time when she was less cynical without having to give up who she is, fundamentally. Effectively, there's never a moment when she isn't in the driver's seat in terms of their relationship, and that is a rare and beautiful thing in cinema. She ends up lowering the shield she's built up around herself to shut out further pain, and allows herself to care about his future happiness without her, which is how she is able to say goodbye with a sense of completion. So if you're looking for an arc in this film, the golden Hercules hero figure persona was always just a front and a cover. The journey is most definitely Meg's. Hey folks, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to share it around because there aren't many positive takes on this muddled, mostly maligned movie. Even Disney don't like to talk about it. Like and subscribe for more edutaining content. And if you want to hear hours of deep Disney chat, check out the School of Movies podcast feed.
Looking at it now, I am actually very impressed that they managed it. And to their credit, the 30 heads thing would not have been realistically doable in 2D. So it's not just there because, hey, we can make it 3D. It's very much we have a need that our traditional technique is not going to achieve.